'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take him at his word, just to rest upon his promise, just to know thus saith the Lord. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I proved him more and more. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust him, Lord. Oh, how sweet to trust in Jesus, just to trust his cleansing blood, just in simple faith to plunge me beneath the healing, cleansing flood. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I proved him more and more. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust him more. Yes, 'tis sweet to trust in Jesus, just from sin and self to cease, just from Jesus simply taking life and rest and joy and peace. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I proved him more and more. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust him more. I'm so glad I learned to trust thee, precious Jesus, Savior, friend, and I know that thou art with me, will be with me to the end. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I proved him more and more. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust him more. When we walk with the Lord in the light of his word, what a glory he sheds on our way. While we do his good will, he abides with us still, and with all who will trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus, but to trust and obey. Not a shadow can rise, not a cloud in the skies, but a smile quickly drives it away. Not a doubt nor a fear, not a sign nor a tear can abide while we trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus, but to trust and obey. But we never can prove the delights of his love until all on the altar we lay. For the favor he shows and the joy he bestows are for those who will trust and obey. Trust and is able, more than able, to accomplish what concerns me today. He is able, more than able, to handle anything that comes my way. He is able, more than able, to do much more than I could ever dream. He is able, more than able, to make me what He wants me to be. He is able, more than able, to accomplish what concerns me today. He is able, more than able, to handle anything that comes my way. He is able, more than able, to do much more than I could ever dream. He is able, more than able, to make me what He wants me to be. Let's sing that chorus once more. He is able, more than able, to do much more than I could ever dream. He is able, more than able, to make me what He wants me to be. At this time, I'd like to do a reading from Philippians 2, verses 1 through 11, which, strangely enough, I understand from Daniel that this is a text that you used in Bible study this morning, Philippians 2. And this is a beautiful passage. The latter portion of this is known as the Christ hymn. And this is an important passage to the church because it reminds us of the example that we follow. That when we remember the cross, we remember it not just as a moment in time, but as an example for us and a call for us to do likewise. And so Paul writes to this church that's having some inner conflict, and these are the words that he offers to the church in Philippi. Therefore, if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from His love, if any common sharing in the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and of one mind. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to His own advantage. Rather, He made Himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And being found in appearance as a man, He humbled Himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Therefore God exalted Him to the highest place and gave Him the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Amen. In the sight of the Lord, humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and He will lift you up, and He will lift you up. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was blind, but now I see. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and He will lift you up, and He will lift you up. Above all powers, above all kings, above all nature and all created things, I lift my voice to worship you, all my soul. Rejoice, thank you for my King. In what you breathe, may it be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. May it be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. You know Ashtabula is right there on the shores of Lake Erie. So I grew up right on Lake Erie. And people are surprised because of that when I tell them I don't swim. Now, I don't mean I don't like to swim or I don't swim well. I mean I don't swim at all. I can't tread water. I can't float. I don't even frolic in the water. I do nothing in the water. When I was growing up, some of you will remember all of this if you've been around for a long time. Lake Erie wasn't very appealing. It was dirty. It was polluted. The beaches all smelled like dead fish. And you remember the big happening in the news was when the Cuyahoga River caught on fire. The river actually caught on fire. So water sports weren't something that we did when I was young and when I was growing up. So not long after we got married, some friends invited us to their lake cottage. And it was there for the very first time that I saw this thing called tubing. Now I know you know what tubing is, but just in case, let me explain it to you. You take this really fancy inner tube with a couple handles on it. You throw it out on the water, and there's a rope that attaches it to a boat. That boat pulls this tube across the water at about 500 miles an hour. Now, the tube doesn't actually stay on the water. This is important to know. The tube kind of bounces and sways and jerks and moves. Oh, and did I mention that while the tube is out there on the water, bouncing and swaying and going 500 miles an hour, you're supposed to be on it. Now, if this sounds like a terrifying version of water-based bull riding, then I have accurately described tubing. Supposedly, this was a lot of fun. To be on the tube is supposed to be a great deal of fun. Now remember again, I don't do water. So going out on that boat was a big enough deal for me. But somehow, I allowed those people who I thought were my friends, talk me into taking a turn. Now I'm sure that this convincing included several challenges to my manhood, repeated references to the fact that my wife had taken several turns, that I was too scared, and I'm sure that there were some incriminating photos of something that they had acquired that they were rubbing in my face. I can't remember exactly what was said, but I do remember that they assured me, if you go, we'll make sure that we go very slowly. And if you fall off the tube, don't worry. Your life vest will save you. So I finally agreed. And the one thing I had not fully considered was how I was going to get out of the boat and onto the tube.
See, I thought somehow I'd get out of the boat, onto the tube, ride around a little bit, get back off the tube, onto the boat, without ever actually getting in the water. Now, I have no idea why I thought that was the way it was going to work, because every person who had gone before me ended up in the water. And everybody in the boat acted like knocking them off the tube was the whole point of the adventure in the first place. But somehow, some way, I was going to defy the laws of tubing. On my first try, I would get out of the boat, ride that Bronco, get back on the boat, and never touch the water. So there we are, out in the middle of this lake. They pull the tube up next to the boat. Now, as you're picturing this event, I just want to first apologize for any mental images that this is bringing to mind. Secondly, I want you to understand, this is extremely important. I want you to understand this was more than 25 years and 50 pounds ago. Okay? Now, that has nothing to do with the story. I'm just trying to be accurate. Anyway, so I put my leg over the side of the boat very, very gently. And my foot found the tube. By the way, did you know that when a boat is in the water, it moves? And that when one of those tubes gets wet, it's very slippery? Just fun facts for you. I'm here to educate today. So my foot hits the tube, and I start to pick my other leg up off the boat, and let's just say that my plan to stay out of the water came to a very swift end. I was out of the boat, off of the tube, under the water. And I was terrified. All I could think was, where's the boat? Well, it's not all I was thinking, but I can't say the rest here. I have no idea why I decided to preach this sermon. So,
we're enjoying your suffering, Dan.
So I went down under the water. Somehow I came back up. I just popped right back up. And through my water-filled eyes, I'm sure it was lake water and not tears, by the way, I saw the boat. In a state of full panic, I reached for the boat. And then my friend, Jeff, well, I'm naming it, Jeff. My friend turned executioner, Jeff, slapped my hand away. And I went under again. I couldn't believe it. Was this the master plan? They brought me out here so I would have an accident on the water? My head went under again, and I came back up again. So what did I do? I reached for the boat again. And what did Jeff do? Jeff slapped my hand away again. Finally, I stopped going under and coming back up, going under, coming back up, going. This is traumatizing even telling it. And I started to float. And then I heard Jeff's voice saying, "Calm down." Now, can I tell you that that's just really bad advice? In the moment of panic. But eventually, I did. I calmed down, and when I calmed down, he explained to me that he wasn't trying to drown me, but he was actually keeping me from grabbing the boat so that I would learn to trust my life vest. Until I learned to trust that life vest, all I was going to experience was trauma. But I did. I came to trust the vest. I got back, somehow got up on the tube, took a turn, took another turn. I don't know how many turns I took, but I had a great time. And really ended up enjoying it. But the key was I had to learn to trust. Learning to trust. That's hard for us, isn't it? It seems like we've been more conditioned to distrust than to trust. Because let's be honest here, right? We're all friends, right? We can be honest. We've been lied to. We've been let down. We've been deceived. We've been abandoned. We've been disappointed more times than we can even count. We've been promised raises and promotions that never came. We've entered into relationships only to have them end with broken promises. We've been ostracized by family and friends. We've been disappointed by people in church. People who supposedly love us. We've been betrayed. We've been hurt. We've been lied to. We've been burned. We've trusted and we've been burned. And as a result, some of us have a very hard time trusting anyone. And through all of that pain and all of that disappointment, what we have learned is the only one I can trust to take care of me is me. So then we come to church on Sunday and we boldly speak about trusting God. We sing with great gusto, "'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus." But then we leave this place, or maybe even before we leave this place, those feelings of distrust start bubbling to the surface and we begin to hear that voice again. The only one I can trust to take care of me is me. So in spite of our weekly proclamations of trust, we spend our lives fighting and resisting and controlling and hoarding and accumulating stuff to the point of obsession, all in our desperate attempt to secure our future. We grab and we hoard and we selfishly cling to our stuff. We're driven by a need to buy and accumulate because the only one I can trust to take care of me is me. We're told that the more stuff we have, the more control we have, the more power we have, the more secure we'll be, the more content we'll be. Frankly, we're told the happier we'll be. But we've been lied to. Because that's not the way it works. No matter how much we have, we still find ourselves consumed with the uncertainty of tomorrow. We toss and we turn, we're unable to sleep, and we worry, and we're insecure, and we're unfulfilled. We're stressed over our jobs, we're stressed over our relationships, we're stressed over our finances, and we believe that the only one I can trust to take care of me is me. This is not a uniquely American issue. In the book of Luke, chapter 12, Jesus is addressing a crowd. And as he's addressing the crowd, a man in the audience asks him to settle a family dispute over an inheritance. Brothers are fighting. And they're fighting over who gets the house, and who gets the car, and who gets the heirlooms. Jesus is angered by the question. Not because he doesn't want to get in the middle of a family squabble, but he's irritated by what is behind the argument. And what's behind the argument he identifies as greed. So he says, watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Now, before you get all over this guy, you know exactly what he's thinking. I have to take care of myself. I have to get what's mine, because the only one I can trust to take care of me is me. My family won't take care of me, so I got to get what I can. I got to take care of mine. I got to secure my future. But look at where it gets him. It gets him exactly the same place it gets us. Fighting and fussing and arguing over who gets what. The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, what shall I do? I have no place to store my crops. Then he said, this is what I'll do. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. And there I will store my surplus grain. And I will say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy. Eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, you fool. This very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you've prepared for yourself? This is how it will be for whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich toward God. This man, believing the only one I can trust to take care of me is me, placed his hope in his crops, in his barns, in his accumulation. He trusted his ability to acquire more and earn more. So he devoted himself to getting more. And in the end, what we find is that his trust was misplaced. His barns were big. His crops were plentiful. But his heart was empty. He had devoted his life to accumulating treasure, and he placed his trust in that treasure. But it left him empty in the end. Now we hear that, and we know it's true. But then here comes that voice, objecting once more. Wait a minute now. Let's not be carried away. I mean, what else is he supposed to do? No one else is going to look out for me. Who's going to take care of me? Me. And it's almost like Jesus expects us to respond that way. Because he turns then to his disciples and he says, God will take care of you. So trust him. You see, when you trust God, you don't have to worry about your life. You don't have to worry about what you will eat or what you will drink or what you will wear, because life is more than food and the body more than clothes. Again, we know this is right. And we want to trust God. But those feelings of distrust come bubbling to the surface again. How can I trust anyone else to take care of me? If we look around, Jesus says, look around. Consider the birds. Look at the way that God takes care of them. You are so much more valuable than birds. Do you need more evidence? Look at the flowers. Look at how God clothes the flowers. And you're so much more valuable than the flowers. Flowers that are going to be burned and thrown away tomorrow. God will take care of you, Jesus said. Trust him. Today, some of us are living stressed out, sleepless lives. Lives that are sapped of joy and void of peace. We're living lives that are filled with worry and overwhelmed by uncertainty. Lives where we're longing for some sort of security. And the reason we're struggling so much is that we've been putting our trust in the wrong place. We've bought into the lie that the only one I can trust to take care of me is me. And that lie has left us just as disappointed, just as frustrated as trusting others did. And Jesus is telling us in this text that the answer to the disappointment that we've had when trusting others isn't putting our trust in ourselves, but it's putting our trust in God. Don't set your heart on what you will eat or drink. Don't worry about it. For the pagan world runs after all such things, and your Father knows you need them. But seek His kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. When we live by the rule that the only one I can trust to take care of me is me, we end up investing our lives so deeply in accumulating goods for ourselves that we have no room for others. We become so obsessed with treasure here that we give little thought to treasure in heaven. We give so much attention to taking care of ourselves that we do little to care for others. We live in constant pursuit of what we don't have, and we're never content with what we do have. We get so overwhelmed by the stress of trying to take care of me that we use people to get what's ours. We destroy relationships over what ought to be ours, and we spend our lives trying to accumulate just a little bit more of what we can call ours. We live, in short, just like I was out on that lake, floundering and fighting, panicking and pressing. And Jesus is there in the boat calling to us, just calm down. Relax. Stop living for yourself. Stop obsessing over what you have and what you can get. Instead, trust God. Seek Him. Seek His kingdom first, and He will take care of all of those things that you're obsessing over. But I tell you, letting go and trusting in Him, that's scary. Putting aside that obsession to take matters into your own hands and secure your future, that's frightening. Especially for the control freaks among us. Knowing that it's scary, knowing that it's frightening to stop fighting and panicking and to put our trust in God, Jesus says, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to trust Him enough to put His kingdom first. Don't be afraid to trust Him enough to live with generosity instead of greed. Don't be afraid to trust Him enough to place tomorrow in His hands. Don't be afraid to trust Him enough to be freed from all of this anxiety and worry and panic that has you so shackled. Okay, but where do we start? How do we do that? Well, maybe it starts with that same advice that my friend gave me when I was in the water. Calm down. Now, I know I said that's bad advice, right? Well, that was bad advice for him. That's not bad advice for me, right? The last thing we want to hear when we're panicking is someone to tell us, calm down. But try it. See what happens when we just take a deep breath and calm down for a minute and start letting go. And by the way, this isn't just about money and stuff, okay? There's a lot of ways that we try to control and secure our future that have nothing to do with money. And there's a lot of Christians living in panic today, and we just need to calm down.
Amen.
And we need to let go. We need to let go of the pain and the disappointment that we're carrying around that's causing us to frantically search for security every place but the one place we can truly find it. We need to let go of the spirit of distrust that is destroying our relationships and keeping us from totally trusting in God. We need to let go of the spirit of discontentment that has us so focused on what we don't have that we can't appreciate and be thankful for what we do have. We need to let go of that compulsive need to control everything, that need that leads us to stress and to worry and to conflict. We need to let go of the hoard and begin to actively share with those who are in need, trusting that God will take care of us. As we calm down, as we learn to let go and trust Him, I think that we'll begin to see that the only one I can trust to take care of me isn't me after all. But the only one I can trust to take care of me, to really take care of me, is Him. When I choose to trust Him, when I choose to trust Him to take care of me, then, and only then,
all to Jesus I surrender, all to Him I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him in His presence daily there. I surrender all. I surrender all to Thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all to Jesus. I surrender humbly at His feet. I bow, worldly pleasures all forsaken. Take me, Jesus, take me now. I surrender all. I surrender all to Thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all to Jesus. I surrender, Lord. I give myself to Thee. Fill me with Thy love and power. Let Thy blessing fall on me. I surrender all. my body, my soul, I give to you. Take control. I give my body a living sacrifice. Lord,